I already said this, but good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Sergio Mattei. I'm a full-time student and entrepreneur from Caguas. Yeah. I've made a couple of things over the years, but primarily my main hustle, as I mentioned earlier, is MakerLive, which is a community of over 5,000 makers and entrepreneurs shipping products together. Um, I'm not going to bore you with details, but I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about what I do and how I've started making it. So I began working on MakerLog around 2 years ago. It all started when I stumbled upon a website actually that was very similar to it. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's called WhipChat. Originally, in my little outline, I wrote a website which shall not be named, but I guess we're shameless like that. I really liked the website, and I wanted a free version, so I made my own. It was meant to be kind of like a private little hangout for me to be able to post my tasks on the daily and stay accountable. But I was in a community earlier that was called Maker's Kitchen, and I shared the product there so people could start trying it out, and people actually really liked it and adopted it. So here we are today. It's been growing a lot since, and that's how I got into the world of community building. Now, I'm going to set a few ground rules for a little talk here. Don't feel kind of scared by the word rules. They're not really rules, more like guidelines. Uh, this is going to be very conversational. I don't want to lecture y'all or bore you, because that's kind of a bad thing. And I'm looking to learn from you just as much as I'm looking to provide value uh, in this little talk here. Questions are absolutely welcome. They're encouraged. You can question me, my product, the movies I watch on Netflix. I don't know, anything. I'm absolutely open to questions and starting a little thought discussion. So let's start with the second part of this whole kind of talk thing, which is starting a community and growing a community. And I have set here as a couple of key concepts that I've learned over the years that might be useful to you guys if you're starting a SaaS or if you're actually looking to build a community per se. So first, I'm going to answer two questions here. Why and how? Why would you build a community around your product? That's probably a good question here, and let's tackle that right now. First of all, network effects. Something that's very interesting about building a community around your product is that a lot of people don't realize how important word of mouth marketing is. You establish a community of loyal users and you solve a problem and you solve it really well. You'll have the best marketing of all, which is literally users going around and telling each other, try this and try it now, which is absolutely glorious. And if you manage to score that, and you manage to build a product people really, really love, I hit in your hands. Second is loyalty and brand outreach. So what's worse, and I was kind of blunt here, but what is worse than an indie startup that does not listen to their users? First of all, you're doing absolutely wrong. You're doing it wrong if you're indie and you are not listening to your customers. Um, use your indiness as an advantage. You are one, and that's big points for empathy marketing. The fact that you are one person or a small team is invaluable for going to your customers and trying to relate with them. Uh, when you have a community, users are much more likely, and they have the confidence to vent their frustrations about your product and give you honest feedback. Although that then again could be misleading when you start thinking about the whole bias feedback trap. But that's a topic, of course. Uh, now, now let's answer the how. So how do you build a community? First, and this is the most important step, you need to absolutely dump the huge startup shtick. And then again, I wrote this kind of in a raw manner, but it's absolutely true. A lot of people in the maker community, a lot of indie startups, a lot of even venture capital backed startups, try to pretend that they are a lot bigger than they really are. It could be because it's an ego stroke, or I don't know. In fact, I'm not going to say that I don't do it. We all do it. I won't lie. I do it sometimes. But stop it. You should not do it. Engage with your users in a human way. Talk to them like humans. and try to use I more often than we. Usually, uh, when indie startups go out, they talk kind of in a we are a startup kind of way, we are a business. Dump that, stop it. Engage with your customers like humans. Talk to them from your point of view. Say I instead of we, because you have an advantage and it's the indie advantage. You're small and people can empathize that. And that's great marketing. Second, the famous quote: "Do things that don't scale." When you are early stage, you have the capacity, you have the bandwidth to do things that don't scale. And that could be talking to your users more often, going out as a founder and emailing your recent customers personally, telling them, hey, how was the onboarding experience? And thank you so much for buying the product, right? Aside from being really fantastic marketing, uh, it just shows that you care about your product, and people love that. In terms of community building, that's a huge, huge plus, and it actually kind of it relates to the previous point about the huge startup stake. Um, a fantastic book that I've read that allows you to not only empathize with people in a startup sense, but in a personal way, in a personal aspect that could even help you grow a lot as a human, is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic book. It's a classic and
Yes.
is great for generally knowing how to empathize with people. And one of the key things that you learn in that book is to listen. And that's what you should do when you are early stage. Third point that is really useful for building a community is one of the most crucial ones. Provide a space for users to congregate. Uh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Uh, Provide spaces for users to congregate. This could mean creating a Telegram group, a forum, anything that allows your users to get together and discuss or talk to each other, meet each other. That's where you start a community. Now, make sure to start small. A lot of communities start with, for example, Slack. That's not exactly very optimal when you're starting out. Something like Telegram chats or WhatsApp groups are actually fantastic because they help ease the chicken and egg problem, which is essentially that communities feel a lot lonelier when there's nobody in them. So it's harder for people to join. And users may be lost or feel a little alienated when they are in bigger spaces with very few people. So make sure you start small there. Yeah, small is the new big. That's an up and coming trend actually in community building, which we are going to get into in a bit. And fourth, this is probably the most crucial one, and I always say it, and people think that's a little cheesy, but I say it like that. Be passionate about what you solve. If you solve a problem and you're not passionate about it, you're never going to build an audience. You're never going to build a community. Um, you gotta let that passion shine. In terms of MakerLog, what helped me gather the first users for MakerLog and what helped kickstart the growth actually was that I really do care about the maker community. I care about microstartups. I care about indie hacking. And that reflected itself on how I market the product, how I market on Twitter. I was genuinely really, really excited and passionate about retweeting, for example, when people launched products, when people were building things, what people learned when they tweeted, hey, I learned this today, that, showing off that passion, it's your biggest asset. And people are really attracted to that kind of energy. Um, don't just build it for product loyalty. And I know that in a product focused community, it's kind of people separate it, but build it about passion towards the product you solve, not just about making a community of people who are willing to throw money at you. That's not what it's about. People pick up on it, so keep that in mind. Now, here comes a very interesting part, a part that I'm actually personally battling with. My Python community is something that is notoriously difficult to do. Uh, Mostly, let's start with the first decision you have to take. When you're building a community, you have two choices: paid and free. This is a very difficult choice, and you have to align it towards what you believe, not only as the leader of what you're trying to build, but as how you work as an individual. First off, let's go through the cons and pros of each type of community. So we have paid communities. In the pros, paid communities are on the rise, as you said. I mean, these are basically smallest and new big. Paid and premium communities are absolutely hot right now. They're easy to control the spam. You know, you have a lot of control over the influx of users, and it generally keeps the quality bar really high, considering that people have to pay to enter. So that's a that's a big factor to keeping that quality bar. And it feels premium. A lot of people enjoy forming part of things that are premium. Uh, so that's a big one. Now, cons, you will impair your growth. You can't grow as fast when you are charging people, especially if you're charging them really high amounts. There's community out there that costs $20 a month, $10 a month, all that stuff. It impairs growth. So you have to take a decision between growth and quality here. You can absolutely strike a middle ground, but it's never going to be as extreme as both sides, right? It's also not very inclusive. This actually led to the creation of MakerLive, seeing a community that was very similar to it, a product that was very similar to it, and being like, I'm a broke ass student. I cannot afford this, so I'm gonna straight up make a new one. So unless you charge really low prices, and that kind of defeats the point of building a paid community, it's not very inclusive. Now, let's get into the free community. These are two extremes, which is really interesting. Pros, it grows fast, really fast. Free communities, they're free. Anybody can join, anybody can enter. The word can spread really quick. There's no limit to growth there. They're also very inclusive. And inclusivity, some people might think, oh, that's not really that important. It is super important. Because inclusivity can create a culture, a really vibrant culture. And that's something that I feel is missing. Now I'm just entering the personal stuff. Something I feel is very missing in these paid communities is they're not very inclusive, hence the community is way less vibrant, right? When you only have a specific amount of people, the amount of people that can afford your product, engaging in a community, it kind of forms a bubble. You have way less thoughts in there, way less minds, and it does reduce the vibrancy. Now, cons. Free is, I'm going to say it like, it's a pain in the ass to monetize. It's really hard to moderate too. You have to keep the quality bar high. You have to keep moderating. You will never sleep. And you have to build a culture that sets the bar high. It's not just about dumping a lot of people in the place. It's also about building a culture in which these people can interact, having a safe space where people from all walks of life can engage and enjoy your product. Now, I won't talk very much about how to execute in terms of the paid and premium community aspect, because paid and premium communities, they are much easier to monetize. Free though, free is very complicated. If you're building around a SaaS, if you already have a product that generates revenue, or you're building a SaaS that charges already, and you're building a community around it, this does not apply. Mostly applies to products that are primarily communities. First type of revenue stream, advertising. It seems like the most logical one, but my personal approach is, I think advertising is totally valid. It's a fantastic approach for monetizing a community. Try to do ethical ads that are targeted, that tries to respect you. A great also is actually the one with the introvert. It's basically a custom ad spot for your site where people can directly buy ad spots. As long as you do ethical ads that are targeted, you should be absolutely fine. And charge high prices. You know, don't be afraid to charge a lot. You have an audience, and targeted audiences don't come easy. So feel free to absolutely charge. Second, sponsors. Sponsors is one I don't have much experience with. I'm starting to try and get into the sponsorships field as MakerLog grows and we need more revenue. But it is absolutely valid. There's a lot of communities out there that use sponsorships. Dev.to is a fantastic example, and it's really huge. The third one that MakerLog is also just starting to get into is Patreonship. So An interesting thing that I discovered recently while experimenting and listening to customers is that, in a nutshell, people that are paying for example, premium memberships in communities you aren't really paying for the product side of things, right? So you might offer kind of a value-added features, but people aren't really paying for that. People are paying because they want to support the mission and the community. That's something we discovered recently. I was looking at it from the SaaS point of view, that's a very common mistake. Um, it's not SaaS. You cannot think of your community as a SaaS. You users that you join more people get it. Because people don't really go to the community for that. They don't pay for gold memberships, for example, for that. They pay because they want to support the mission. So adding packs like patronship, charging high for those prices is a completely valid approach. Because funnily enough, one of the main customer complaints from gold users on MakerLog is that we charge too little. They want to support the community more. They want to provide more. They really like the mission, and they're like, how can I buy gold for other people because I really want to support the community? So don't be afraid to charge high prices. MakerLog is just starting to get into this. We are going to shift into a Patreon package, which will greatly expand the opportunities for people to support. Um, so don't think of it as a traditional SaaS. Think of it as a mission to do X, whatever X means for you. In MakerLog's case, uh, it's empowering makers and allowing them to be more productive. If you have a community, the mission is first. So that's pretty much all I have to talk about tonight. Kind of short, probably. I'm not sure how much time I took. But I am open to questions now. I am really willing to start a thoughtful discussion about this. So feel free to hit up the questions in the chat and let's talk.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I think I was one of the persons who said, yeah, I don't really care about the features of MakerLog. I just wanna pay to support you and your work. And yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think you could get away with a Patreon like model. Also, I don't know if you've looked at Vue.js. I mean, this is kind of like a sponsorship, but Vue.js, they have like a company logos, and they pay to be there, like, oh, gold sponsor, blah blah blah. I would totally, like, it's both like an ad and also it's like a sponsorship. I think that kind of thing might actually work for you too. Maybe get some indie companies names in there.
Absolutely, that's actually what I'm looking to do. This very soon, actually. Doing something like what Dev.2 does. I don't want to charge. That's the thing. MakerLog is hitting an interesting point where we're growing a lot, and uh, I'm trying to figure out how to like monetize this effectively, right? Because it's not making enough.
Yeah.
And I have a plan now. I took a lot of time to think about it. I have a plan now, and I'm just going to execute. And that is definitely in plans. And going for something like Dev.2, that Dev.2 does, is a great approach. It allows you to keep the community inclusive and open. It funds development. And it's an all-around great approach. How would you take a startup and scale it? That's an interesting question, but I think it's a little really broad. What milestones can mark its progress?
Awesome. Just want to know that whatever la pregunta, disculpe, una cosa.
Sí, te escucho.
O sea, estoy pensando, o sea, casi siempre cuando tienes un startup, tú quieres hacer progreso o scale it. Dentro de eso, necesitas monetizarlo y hacer dinero que scale o esa motivación of scaling the startup, is it always monetization? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing? In reference to this, to community building.
That's an interesting question. Are we talking about building a community here?
No. What I'm thinking is, like, do you think that you need to build a community to scale your startup?
Um, I think.
Or do you think that if you build a community, like if you do anything to your startup, like scale it, you're gonna, build a community, everything else is gonna come to you.
I would. I think my general opinion on this, and this is just my opinion mostly. I think building a community is absolutely crucial to scaling a startup, and that's the next thing I was going to mention. I think it depends on the nature of the startup, really. Um, for most startups, I think building a community is a great thing. Look at what Notion is, for example. Notion has a passionate community of people who love the product. Run research, for example. Then again, that question is a little broad. It does depend, as David said, does depend on the nature of the startup. So I can't answer it directly without knowing what exactly you're building. But yes, building a community is kind of an important part.
Okay.
A community where makers can interact with customers. Any platform that is small and allows you to have a bunch of people, like a bit of a bubble where people can talk to each other and join it. I was talking about this with Gabriel earlier. I'm not sure if it was recorded live, but just start small. Anywhere you can start small and form a bubble of people that can talk to each other and interact. And for example, you can go drop by and say welcome to everybody, and people don't get lost. It's a fantastic platform. This could be Telegram. Treat it as an MVP. Treat it as a minimal viable product. So Telegram, places like Twitter, you can form a community on Twitter. Anywhere that you can congregate people that is tiny. In my case, community. Yeah, I think that's generally the answer I have. Anywhere you can congregate a community.
Right. I wanted to add something to that. If you want a great example of a community that did not necessarily start with monetization in mind, but with community in mind, check out the history of how Laravel started with PHP, and you'll see that even Taylor himself had problems at the beginning saying how can I monetize this, and how he grew exponentially and not only to keep the main Laravel framework as a free product, but how he added more products on the ecosystem. First, it was just Laravel framework. Then it was called Laravel ecosystem because he kept adding products that added value for you to using Laravel as a framework. So Laravel was just the gateway to enter into the larger ecosystem of everything else.
Tu meta para tu startup debería ser la creación de un ecosistema, una comunidad que puedan apoyarlo y soportarlo. No debería ser muy greedy por hacer dinero con tu startup y scaling, porque a veces siento que, y me ha pasado a mí, lo que pasa es que pienso esto, que queremos hacer un startup, estoy en este proceso de que yo tengo un business partner y queremos hacer un SaaS, software as a service. But we have this thought that we're gonna be millionaires someday. That's not that it is. But that's the thing. That shouldn't be your motivation. You shouldn't be running after that.
I do defer a little bit. I think if you are building a community, your motivation shouldn't be necessarily money, especially if you're building a free one. But if you're building a SaaS, your motivation shouldn't be money. In the sense of solving a problem and, of course, trying to hit sustainability and growth. Now, if you're building a community around that SaaS, the goals completely change. You cannot be greedy when you're building a community. It doesn't work. It looks fake, and people do not like that. People do pick up on that. So as long as you keep your intentions pure when building a community, and people can feel that energy. And it sounds a little abstract, but that's how it is. In terms of your SaaS, if you're building a SaaS, focus on growth. Focus on growth. Focus on money, and focus on solving the problem, and you're keeping your customers happy. Strike a balance between all those, and you should be fine.
Tú hablaste todo un poco ya, pero ¿Qué tú recomiendas? O sea, en cuanto a los primeros pasos de una comunidad pequeña, o sea, ¿cómo tú consigues los primeros 10 miembros, vamos a suponer?
En esencia, well, it depends on how well you have to know who you're targeting, and you have to somehow be really passionate about the problem you're solving. If you solve a problem and people, basically just like building a regular startup, that's all. Find people that your product can solve a problem for, and the community, as long as you actively try to congregate them somewhere, you should be fine. And eso fue lo que pasó al menos con MakerLog. That's the experience I have. Como que I was really passionate about the problem I was solving. I was passionate about the community I was in. I created a product to solve a problem in this community, and I pointed them somewhere to congregate. So community started building.
I'm really impressed by how you're able to do all of this while you're studying. You're a full-time student. I think it's insane. Like, how do you like? I mean, like, are you getting good grades? Like, how can you juggle all this stuff? Like,
I'm actually getting good grades. Yeah.
dude, I think you're truly a genius, man.
No, I'm not. But yeah, it takes a lot of sweat, a lot of tears, a lot of procrastination. That's basically how it works. Just trying to strike a balance, optimizing for my time. But in general, you can do it. It works. Oh, thank you. That's a fantastic question. Motivational movies. I don't know if D for Vendetta is on Netflix, but you should absolutely watch it if you haven't yet. What books? Books. One of the most important books you should ever watch. Read. One of the most important books you should ever read. The Lean Startup. That's a book that absolutely changed my life. It's more of an ideology. It's a little abstract too. It has ideas on how to implement, but it's mostly up to you. It's a fantastic book on creating micro startups. It's a fantastic book on turning the business into and merging it with the scientific process. It's a great read. You should read it. As I said, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Fantastic book. The Little Prince. Gives you a lot of perspective. And The Art of the Start is a really practical one too. Whereas the Lean Startup is more of an ideology. The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. Fantastic book. It's like it has chapters on everything you need to build a successful startup. My favorite one right now is actually The Art of Bleeding, because now I'm starting to try and build a team for MakerLog, and I suck. So I'm trying to start learning in terms of how to manage a team, how to set a vision, how to do all that, moving from the solopreneur stage. So that's a fantastic book. There's a lot more out there, probably my Kindle. Principles by Ray Dalio. Aside from that, a lot of great books out there. Saw another question in the chat. Oh no, Founder's a good one. Of not being the mom test. How did I not mention that one?
Oh yes.
Dune. What's it about?
Dune is a sci-fi. It's an old subject. Frank Herbert's Dune, written in 1985, I think.
Interesting.
And they made a movie. So that's been well.
Fire. Sounds fire. Gotta add it to the watch list. So yeah, by the way guys, I have great news. As a solopreneur, do you need feel the necessity of a co-founder? No. No I don't. At least initially. Now we start growing, and for example, I recently got into I was gonna say great news. I got an internship prize from Guayacan. So now I'm starting to build a team to be able, for example, to manage getting seed capital. In general, I don't feel it as a necessity. especially if you're trying to start a SaaS or a micro startup. You don't need it. Don't worry about it. You really don't. Unless the other person has the skill that you're lacking, in that case, go for it. Otherwise, don't. Of course you can. Feel free. This is a thought space.
Una cosita que te quería añadir. You mentioned about leadership and oops, one second. You mentioned about leadership and having to learn that skill. One thing that really worked for me, that some of the people that know me might not even believe it. I didn't see myself as a leader, and in one of my internships when I was in college, there was a guy that said, "Leaders are not born; leaders are made." So that quote alone just changed my perspective of everything.
You're
Uh,
absolutely right.
so maybe don't even think about starting a team as I need to start a team. Just see if you can try to connect with somebody at a personal level, and then see if you can click with them with your business, and then that's generally how it has helped me with my leadership problems in general.
I absolutely agree, and I know I say that a lot, but you're absolutely saying great ideas. Right now, I have close to a co-founder in a sense. He's a creative entrepreneurship major. He has basically everything that I lack in the sense of in the spaces that I lack, he's fantastic at. And we have a lot of synergy, and that's actually something from my experience, has worked really well. If you have a lot of synergy with your co-founder, if you have it's almost like a marriage. You can't marry anybody, you know. You can't just pick up the first connection and say, hey, marry. Not gonna end well. So
Right.
in
Right.
general,
Watching the Silicon Valley works too.
yeah. So yeah, same with charisma, same with leadership. Nobody's born a leader. Some people are born charismatic, some people are not. You can absolutely learn all of those things. Oof, that you're absolutely right. That's something I've been reading about actually recently. I started talking to a lot of people about enterprise, and that was close to the consensus. It's a game,
Yes.
and there's a lot of stuff to do there on team.
Por lo menos por lo menos mi experiencia fue cuando en el 2016 para el 2017, cuando yo me mudé para Estados Unidos, me metí en esta onda de hacer en los startups. Hay muchos startups por allá. Y lo bueno es que aprendí. Yo soy una persona introvertida. Ahora, cuando vas a los networking events, si te juntas o compenetras con otras personas with your same mindset, you're going to find a co-founder. You're going to meet a lot of people, and you get into these conversations about startups and technology. La gente te va a escuchar, muchos te van a escuchar, porque es esa onda en ese ambiente y es muy bueno. O sea, también se aprenden muchas cosas. Tú puedes, como digo, Cope, tú crees que tú no eres un líder, pero cuando te juntas con el grupo correcto y las personas in your same mindset and same skill sets as you can develop yourself a lot in these groups.
It's a fantastic point. I'm really looking forward to that actually. I'm starting to learn how to build a team, and just this is such an incredible learning process for me. It's really exciting.
So speaking of grants and programs, what else have you applied to for MakerLog?
I actually went through iCourse, but mostly it wasn't really for MakerLog. It was actually for a previous thing I was doing, which is called Cowork. So in general, iCourse was a fantastic experience. It basically changed my life. It introduced me to the lean startup. It told me that I was doing a lot of things wrong in hindsight, but it was a fantastic experience. I would recommend it to everybody. Yeah.
Did you have like a such an amazing head start. Like you're learning now what I was learning when I was around like 26. You have a huge head start. So
Hey man.
I'm really looking forward to how far you can go. Like I know you'll get really really far.
Thank you so much, man. Hey, we're not that far.
No, but you're really young and you're really already really far ahead. So you have 10, 15, 20 more years to do really big stuff. I'm really looking forward. I'm really excited for you.
Thank you so much. Keep on logging on MakerLife.
Yeah, I will.
By the way, guys, if you haven't tried it out yet, makerlog.com, fantastic site. You know, I'm plugging here. Fantastic site to stay motivated while building your project. I love that bell.
Oh yeah, the bell is back. It makes me want to get ice cream now.
Absolutely.
One more question. You messed with my mind today. So I know that you mentioned about your monetization model against what would Dev.2 would do. But honestly, while you were speaking, I'd love both to get MakerLog and Dev2, and I honestly couldn't, since I didn't get into everything that they were doing, how do you plan to make them different? In the sense that I know that Dev2 is more about a learning experience rather than a making experience. But how do you plan to make it different or similar to their monetization model?
Make them similar in what exactly? Concept or monetization?
No, from the standpoint that you were talking about, that you were planning to do something similar to them. So how are you planning to make whatever it is that you're doing something similar or different to them in the monetization model?
I'm not gonna do much different from them actually. I'm actually gonna just straight up shamelessly copy what they're doing with sponsorships, which is a fantastic model. They have a great revenue model. It's worked for a lot of communities out there where they gather sponsors. Sponsors are willing to put your logo down here, have a couple events here and there, and we'll fund you. And generally, it's just a great model. I don't think we will differentiate much there. As long as you have an audience, a very dedicated audience that other brands can target, you're a prime candidate for sponsorships.
That was a better answer than I thought that you would do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people are afraid to copy what other people are doing, but I think most people are everybody's copying each other. Everything is like everything, all technology, all of human knowledge and progress is everybody copies somebody else and then they remix it or add something on top of it. And
I have an interesting story actually. When MakerLog first started, there was a lot of controversy in the maker community because a lot of people just saw it like a straight up clone of WebChat. And sure, at the time it was. That was kind of the point. It created a lot of controversy. I started getting a lot of hate, particularly from people who were prominent in the maker community. People I looked up to, Peter Levels, Mark Colbridge, prolific and prominent makers started getting hate. So in general, their communities just came and bashed. But something that kept me going was when somebody messaged me on Slack and he told me essentially this: innovation isn't just creating new things; it's iterating. And what you're doing to me is plain innovation. You made something that already existed. You put your own spin on it. That's innovation. Don't listen to the haters. And
Right.
I think that's a powerful statement. It's not just about having original ideas. It's about putting your own spin, improving things and taking you in a whole new direction. Everything is learning. now I'm not afraid of shamelessly copying things, and I and I shamelessly talk about it.
Yeah.
I think there's a famous saying by Steve Jobs. What was the saying again? Uh, hmm,
Great artist. Wait, what was it?
that was the one. That was the one.
Great artists steal.
Yeah.
No, artists copy.
No, bad artists copy, great artists steal.
Great artists steal.
Steal ideas, ruthlessly, shamelessly.
Well, there's another saying that says imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
That's absolutely true.
Emmanuel was asking like, how would you move your small indie community from a chat app to your own platform?
Almost lost that question now. How would you move your small indie community from chat to your own platform? That's an interesting question. I don't feel like I have an appropriate answer to that, considering that MakerLive actually built it the other way. We had an app, I had an app, and a Telegram community around it. But you know what? I gotta think about that. That's a good question. I don't have the answer right now, but I assumed it would do it very gradually, and adding value in one place so people will just generally transition. Right? That's my assumption. Then again, I haven't really done this before. Exactly. That's also a good rebuttal. Both can definitely coexist. MakerLive, for example, does that. We have a Telegram group, we have a Twitter community, and there's an on-site discussions chat. It can coexist. You just gotta keep it balanced.
So you have mentioned Telegram communities a lot, but why not use Discord now?
Similar to Slack, you can absolutely do it. Discord is great for larger communities, but then again, it also lends itself a little bit more to the chicken and egg problem. Whereas in Telegram, you have a single stream, similar to WhatsApp. You have one single place where everybody can talk. Discord, it's easy to start out a little bit by adding channels, by adding channels. You know, it can get a little bigger than you want. So you just gotta do it carefully. You don't want to have too many places. You want to have one centralized place where people can interact. So I wouldn't say it's a bad place to do it because it's Slack. I just think you gotta do it carefully.
Yeah, I agree with that. I used to follow one of my quote unquote makers, and they had a smaller Discord chat, and then they started having channels, and I almost want to leave that Discord.
That actually comes to an interesting topic in community building, which is, as I discussed earlier with Gabriel, the bubbles theory, right? So you got to start with one really big bubble, and eventually, as things grow, you will start realizing that the bubble is getting a little too big, and you have to find the optimal time to start separating the bubble into smaller bubbles before the big one bursts. It's a little bit of a confusing analogy, but in general, you have to be really wise about when you start dividing the community into smaller segments. Dividing it at first, for example, by adding a following system, which is a mistake that MakerLab made. Actually, adding a following system too early, but by adding too many channels in your chat, it's a big mistake that could really cost you a lot of growth. I learned that by trial and error. It cost me a lot of growth initially. That's absolutely right. Yeah, you gotta put your own spin on it. You gotta put your own spin on it. Wholeheartedly agree with that concept. You gotta have a sort of vision for it.
At les recomiendo a todos ustedes, si no han usado MakerLog aún, se los recomiendo altamente. Yo estoy ahí y yo participo todos los días. Y de verdad que me motiva mucho a trabajar y también he conocido gente útil. O sea, que trabaja en lo mismo que yo y ahora nos ayudamos mutuamente. O sea, es como una herramienta para mantenerte motivado y también para conocer gente que trabaja en tu industria o en tu área de interés y se pueden ayudar. Deberían getmakerlog.com y Sergio a veces te hace retweet y pues va a estar al frente de mucha gente.
Oh man, I love reading anything that is related to maker community. So post much progress.
I already signed up.
Perfect. Oh, that's you. I'm gonna comment. I just saw your post.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Have a great night. I hope you enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. Oh.
Bueno, si nadie tiene más preguntas, yo creo que podemos dejarlo hasta aquí. O no sé si Sergio, si tú quieres decir algo más. You want to say something that we didn't ask about, or
I have a couple takeaways here to reiterate. Number one, yeah, I'm gonna send a bit of the outline so you guys can keep it for perhaps personal note and whatnot. It has a lot of what I talked here today. Number two, we live in a weird world where people fake AirPods and mice ran out of battery. So that's interesting. Aside from that, yeah, I'm just gonna send you the document here, and I think we're pretty much set to go. I hope you really enjoyed what I do. Go follow me on Twitter if you haven't yet. Twitter.com/Mattei.
And remember our bell. Bell tonight. Ice cream truck.
And by the way, mail me some ice cream. Somehow.
That's it.
Alright, so yeah, I think that's it.
well, yeah, thank you very much for all of you, and yeah, thanks Sergio, and yeah, we'll stay in touch.
Pleasure to meet all of you. I'm looking forward to following you all on Twitter and staying up to date on Maker, like both on Twitter, about what you guys are doing. Indie hacking in Puerto Rico is really exciting to me because it's good to have a community here, and I just want to see, something I was thinking about the other day. This is kind of a final remark. Something I was thinking the other day, and I was really excited about it, is that I realized that every dollar that we make, every dollar that we bring, is a dollar that we inject into the local economy.
Yeah.
And it's a dollar that helps push Puerto Rico forward. That alone is enough reason to start an indie startup here. So that's my final note here. Thank you so much for I hope you really like to talk, and that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye bye.